Hey everybody, welcome to Couch for It, episode 4. That's right, we've done this 4 times now, so
This is an entire month.
it is. We are a month old, we're crawling around on the ground and making noises and putting things in our mouths that we shouldn't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, God damn it, please put that cushion down.
Yeah,
Nom, 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 nom.
nom nom, I'm gonna eat this, and then we're gonna get some, I think it's pica, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm Drew Tillman, and joined by my wonderful co-host,
I'm Bolly. Hi. Stop.
and we have come to sit on this giant blue couch again that spans a whole ocean to tell you about Lost in Space, Netflix original series, episode 4, and I have so many thoughts and feelings.
Um, did you catch what the name of this episode was? Because again, I completely missed it.
I didn't, but I can find out really fast if you want to give your general opinion of
I'll,
this.
tell you what, I'll do first impressions.
Yeah, go for it.
This to me felt like a beach episode. Like I just need to chill, like a camp, like the traditional D&D campfire moment. Like we need to chill and talk, just digest for a little bit. We just need to figure some shit out. That's kind of what this episode felt like.
Yeah,
They even had the big literally let's walk somewhere, but they didn't have the fire because they have a space heater. So
exactly.
yeah,
And
that's how I felt.
the name of this episode is The Robinsons Were Here.
Okay, okay.
My first impressions of this was why? Just why on so many odd little points that I'm going to get into when we dive into the spoilers right now. Would you like to start? What are your opinionated thoughts on the actual episode?
Uh, wow. It yeah. There were a lot of things that came up that I was just like, not sure I'm ready to. I don't think they've had enough time to do one of these episodes yet. Because there's the whole thing with spoiler alert, the mom and dad getting like having to have a conversation and like being literally in that scenario where they're forced into a room together where they have to deal with their problems.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's just like what the frack. Yeah, and that just like that you haven't earned that for me yet.
No.
Do some more things, but I was happy by two very big things. One, they didn't have a doom counter this week. It's
did
like
not.
they ran out of alarm clocks and need to reset them by hand. They're like, anyway, they're like battery powered. We have to wind them up, so it wasn't here this week. And I'm like, oh well, that's good. It's not there, but still. And the other thing was the return of Korma, of which I was just like, fuck yeah.
That was a good moment.
I was happy. I'm sad that the chicken, which spoiler alert, comes back, is called Denise. It should be called Korma.
It's Debbie. It's Debbie the chicken.
Debbie?
Yeah, Debbie the chicken.
Debbie. Oh, because it's earned a name. Yeah.
Yeah. Which
I love the whole chicken thing. That was just amazing.
the chicken was great. So I'm gonna start from the actual beginning of this episode in the way that like it opens on a scene. Once again, we don't get opening credits. It really just feels like they forgot them for 2 episodes, remembered them, forgot them again. Like there's no consistency on the credits.
Oh wait, what? There wasn't an opening credit sequence.
No, there wasn't. There was nothing. It started with John the dad trying to hammer some spikes into the ground.
Yep.
And Will being like, let the robot help because the robot's super strong. And then
the
it literally, the dad finally lets him help because why would you not?
Yep.
And then after they have a little moment of talking, and he's like, hey, why don't you go start the expansion protocols, which I'm going to get into about the expansion protocols.
Yeah.
It just says Lost in Space, and then just goes into the next thing.
Okay. Do you think they put it in when they think the episode is going to be short?
I could see that because this episode was an hour and change.
Hour and a couple of seconds, yeah.
Yeah. But the big thing is, like, you're on Netflix. You don't have a runtime to worry about. You don't have ads to worry about. Just fucking make an episode.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want to go into the expansion protocols, which are the next scene, because the dad and the mom and Judy all go out to meet some other survivors. So Penny, the robot, Smith, and Will are left on the Jupiter, and they're going to expand it, which in my head sounded really cool. Like, oh, this thing will get really big.
Oh yeah. So yeah, they do that. Like we're gonna, and then like like the expansion program, like it kind of like it does this thing where they build it up and they go through all these checks and like the brother and sister are being a brother and sister and doing that kind of like sibling bickering between them about getting this thing done. And then like we do this like pan out shot where we see the Jupiter and we see like, oh cool, maybe I'm gonna see like a transformer type thing going on. Maybe I'm gonna see some actual expansions. Oh no, I was vastly underwhelmed. There is no other phrase for this.
I thought, because the Jupiter, for those of you who have not seen it, the Jupiter is shaped like, it's kind of shaped like the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Like it has like a central like hub thing, and then it's got kind of this U shape around it that has some headlights on it, because lights are super helpful in space, I guess.
Yeah.
And
I think, well, they you know, it's a colony ship. Come on.
I know. I just wanted to rag on it for a minute. But I thought the big like U shape around the central hub was going to split, and the whole thing was going to expand, sort of like an RV. Instead, what expands are something like two things, basically the size of the bedroom I sleep in, out of each side of the ship. And I'm like, how does that help? Who does that help? What is that for? And
yeah. So they just seem to be so small, and they come out such a small way. Like there's a big rock that happens to be
my
in the
God.
way, and we're like, oh, okay, maybe they're doing that thing where, you know, they're showing that the robot being super strong because Will and the robot go and physically move this rock. Well,
Yep.
the robot moves the rock, let's be honest, and Will's just there. And they do this pushing thing, and then it comes out like maybe 5 or 6 inches more,
Right.
and then it stops. That's it. There's nothing.
Not to mention, and I'm gonna point this out this whole episode. These are the most unobservant people I've ever seen. This rock is right next to their ship, and they look at it. They're outside and they're looking at this rock, and no one goes, "Well, that's going to get in the way of the expansion. We definitely can't open the expandable bedroom for you and Mom because it's going to hit this rock. It's just not going to work." So many times they just like walk around and they're like, "What was that? Who's there? What's going on?" Like, it's just plot device of just being like, "Oh, the character doesn't see something," but it's like they're right there. How do they not see it?
Yeah, it's like it's surrounded by a mist of plot,
Oh
so
my God.
that they can do like it's it's got like a perception filter on it, much like the TARDIS. It's
Yeah.
the rock isn't there when they're not directly looking at it, and they don't know it's there.
Or
But that was
or when you're playing Age of Empires and you can only see so far on the minimap because the fog of war, you can't see too far.
yeah. Just yeah, that was mainly there, I think, so that I mean the expansion let's stay ragging on that a minute. It's like someone to built lean to on either side of the ship. Like what possible
It really
use is that gonna be? I mean, unless it's something that continues expanding over time, maybe it, I don't know, it gives them more extra room to grow some plants, but it can't be that big an area.
And you don't even see what it's for this episode.
No,
They make a big deal of it and then just whatever.
Yeah, it was a big build up to it. It was like, cool, this looks awesome. The music was cool, time to it. It had a great establishing shot. Wow.
And
buddy.
then so I have to ask, are the writers of this show under duress? Were they captured by Netflix and told to write this thing? Because it doesn't feel like they're really in it to make a sci-fi show. It kind of just feels like they're in it to be like, what's some goofy tropes that we can just play with?
Yeah, like all right, let's do like the whole general thing again, because this is like, I'm gonna say it now. I did not enjoy this episode
I
at
didn't
all.
either.
I didn't like it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like characters having character moments. I like entire episodes dedicated to dealing with their crap so we can get through that emotional stuff and they can have revelations. I love character building. It's too early for it in this. There has been like dick all in the way of sci-fi, really, and it just feels very much like, let's put some sort of tropey soap family drama and let's just stick the words in space. This has proven that adding the words in space has not actually made anything any better.
Oh,
I have to be honest. It's just, normally I'm happy with the words in space making things better. I just can't in this.
But yeah, you also use the words in space as like kind of a joke. Like you're like, oh, let me go get that mirror in space, and it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is just, they've tacked it on there, I guess, to make a more terrible Robinson Crusoe,
Yeah.
which I have further thoughts on this. That I want to wait until we get to a certain point in this episode
Okay. All right.
because
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So after like the robot and Will push this rock, Will does this thing where he throws his arms in the air and he's like, "Woohoo! This is awesome!" And then we cut to the weirdest shot of Dr. Smith.
oh my god, isn't
She's
that a
like,
weird?
yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one. So she's lying like some French model on top of a piano. Like, I'm hoping that immediately gives away what I saw. It's just she's just leaning on. She's basically laying down on one side with like her head on her hand, and she sees the robot push this thing, and it's just like, why is she lying like that? What? I just don't get it. And then she goes over and has a conversation with Will, and like offers as a family therapist to speak to the robot.
I love that. She clearly wants to talk to the robot that never says anything and just sits there and flashes lights at Will, and he conversates with himself.
Mm-hmm.
I love that she's like, let me talk to him. What good is that going to do? Like, really, what good is that going to do?
From a therapist's point of view, if the way that it is communicating is through those little like weird flashy light things, so, the snow globe effects, then yeah, I can understand working out what those glittery effects mean. Maybe if they're slightly brighter, it means he's really pissed off, because at least you get a basic read on it. But I think Will has a basic read on him already. I guess it would just be for the rest of the family, from like the fact that she's evil villain number one so far.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I can figure why she'd want to talk to it and figure out and give it options, I guess. But it was just one of those moments of just like, it was the establishing shot of her laying like a French model on lights. Like, what? I don't understand.
It was a mess. It was a bad shot. It was weird for her to sit like that. Which, by the way, she sits in weird positions this whole episode.
Yeah, it's like, how awkward can we make the actress look?
Oh, 100%. So after they move the rock, the mom and dad and Judy are in the chariot, and they're going to visit some survivors who I love. When they get there, I was like, I love these people. But there is a moment where she says bear left here, and my first thought was I wanted him to turn left and hit a bear. And I don't know why, but that was a more entertaining thought than anything that was happening in this episode. Just him plowing into a bear. Like, what the fuck?
It would, or they look left and they see a bear. I mean, that, like, you don't necessarily turn left, but looking left and seeing a bear.
I kind of just would have been like, yeah, that's kind of on course for what's happening here. Mess of a thing. But it cuts over to the other survivors, who are the Watanabes, and they're examining another new life form, which looks like a hermit crab made out of pebbles.
Oh, I have to talk about those. The environment of this episode, I think, was freaking awesome. Like,
agree.
There's a thing where like the exobiologist and I think it's supposed to be his daughter are looking at this new creature, and it's made of three. It looks like it's made of three pebbles with a couple of legs on it, and the pebbles are slightly different colors, and they look really cool. And then they're talking about how things are similar. Life is similar across, like, this galaxy. It's strange that it's familiar and yet alien at the same time. And as they walk away, we cut back to the pebble rock thing, and it does a little clicky thing on top of another one, and we see loads of them. We just see loads of them all across this beach, and it's like, that is just awesome and really cool. And continuing on the environment, there's the thing with the flowers.
Oh, that was a good scene.
It was cool for one very good reason. There, the Robinson children plus Spencer are making their way to the place, which we'll get to in a minute. And one of them catches something and makes a clapping sound. And these flowers, what looks like just green plants on the ground, it's some sort of grass. It's not. They clap, they make the noise, and these pink flowers erupt out of them. It's like, that is cool. And they do this little clapping effect. Each of them does it, and a new pool of like pink flowers appears. And then Spencer does it, and like the whole thing lights up. That, for me, that establishing of like this very alien way of being was just cool. Mm-hmm. It definitely builds a slightly different world. Like, this is not normal. This is not Earth. This is definitely an alien planet, and I love that bit. I love like the building of this this planet. Even at the end of that scene where they where the children realize that they're being hunted or followed by something, in the very background behind some of the trees and stuff, you just see like this kind of like this like the kind of spine of a creature.
It looks like a straight up fucking dinosaur.
Yeah, it does, and it's just cool. Like,
Oh, it is.
obviously they didn't have the budget to make the whole thing appear because later on it appears again, and you still don't see it all. It just disappears.
Yeah,
Maybe they spent all their effects on the flowers and the very end of this, like the very cool effect that happens towards the end, which I don't want to go into just yet. It's like, it's just cool. I love the world building in this, and it was great and awesome. I just worried about the rest of it.
I agree. But the Watanabes, they have a much better setup. They have like outdoor awnings and chairs and shit. Like, it's just so nice. Now, granted, the Robinsons were trapped in the ice for 2 or 3 days or whatever. But these survivors just, they seem to be having a fucking camping trip. Whereas the Robinsons are just, it's like, okay, there's a soldier and an engineer and 3 supposedly very smart children, although the only smart one that I've seen has been Judy, because the other 2 really haven't done much. Not to say they haven't done anything, but like they haven't like gone to save the day or, you know, whatever. They're having some real problems getting their camp set up, whereas this other group is just like, oh yeah, over there is you know, our storage shed. We took it out of the ship and put it right there. And over here is our sunbathing area. Like, they're just on fucking vacation.
They seem to have their shit nailed down, these guys.
Right?
They seem to have a good dynamic between the 3 of them of like, this is how things work. This is how things are going on here. And it's very cool and very nice. And it's good to see that other survivors have clearly set something up and in place, which is awesome and great.
Mm-hmm.
That was so they go there and they find not only did they find the Watanabes,
yeah.
Watanabe's good. I don't have any notes, so I'm going off of memory here. We see like a glorious, like majestic hero returning to our screens. We see the ramp and then we see the chicken.
Oh, the chicken.
Like, Korma reappears and I'm just so happy. I'm like, wait a minute. Actually, initially I thought, oh, maybe everyone having a chicken is a thing. No, it is in fact Korma of old with the engineer guy and
whose name I finally learned. It's Don West.
Don West.
And I only learned it because he said it about 30 times.
Yeah. He established his name very well.
He is a very good person. If you're just like, I don't remember this guy's name, he's going to tell you whether or not you want to know.
Yeah, it's like, I am a minor character who will probably become significant at some point. Remember my name. Remember. So yeah, he turns up and picks up the chicken and informs them that its name is Denise. Debbie. I don't know why I'm getting Denise stuck in it. I don't know. That the chicken's name is Debbie. And this is one of the cooler sci-fi things of him not realizing that the chicken has a tracker in it. And that's how this crew found him.
Yeah.
That's how him and I want to say
Angela, yep.
So
I wrote it down this time.
Oh, okay. Like, that's how he and Angela got rescued, because this chicken had a tracker in it, and they found them because they found the chicken pinging up on their radar or something.
Yeah.
And that's how they got rescued. And we cut to like the interior of the ship where Judy just like strolls past as the doctor, and there's a comment on how young she is, and we find that she's 18.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yes, we found out she's 18, and she strolls in and she begins to administer care to Angela, who
is awake but not responsive. Like catatonic, I think would be the term.
Yeah, it's closest thing to it. I think we end up discovering that she's not responding because she's in so much pain. She's
in a lot of pain and also really scared of the thing that attacked the Resolute.
I wonder what that is.
Oh, what is it? Oh, it's a 4-armed robot that looks suspiciously like Spencer. Because Angela, as we find out, has a fucking crazy wound in her back.
Oh god, yeah.
Where Spencer shot her, and it looks like, it doesn't just look like a burn. It looks like it's growing something as well.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of like it's like a plant has taken root just under her skin, and it's beginning to like grow and vine and creep out and stuff. And there's this nice kind of like round-ish, puncture-ish looking wound.
It's a very weird. Like, I thought the robot had lasers, but then this
makes me question that massively.
Exactly.
And like that image that you see of that, you think, oh, that's a pretty nasty looking wound. Comes up again later in the episode. I'm like,
it does.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so she finds out that Judy finds out that there's shit going down with Spencer and she's not happy about it, as you would expect. But she can't go tell her parents because her parents have gone off on a let's go locate some loot mission.
Mm-hmm.
So the parents go off and do, and they take Don with them because Don, I think, refuses to be left behind.
Yeah, I think so. I think he makes the joke that he's like, "Oh, you guys were so smart for bringing me," but I'm pretty sure he just kind of forces his way onto the ship.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to get that feeling because they just ignore him and try to go to the ship on their own. And the next scene I think we get is the interior of a different chariot, I think, and he's sitting in it.
Yeah, he's sitting in it because they take the Watanabe's chariot
That's
and
right.
leave
Yeah.
their chariot for Judy to go back to their Jupiter to watch her siblings.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so when you find all this out and they leave, it does cut back, and Will's outside drawing in the dirt with Spencer, and he draws a picture of Spencer that's just awful. And they throw some rocks on it because Spencer has a crazy face. And then Spencer draws something, and I'm gonna say I feel actually really bad for whoever has had to be in that suit to draw that. Because they clearly have these like crazy arm extender. Because Spencer's got really long arms.
Yeah.
Like it looks like he could run around like
Yeah.
a gorilla would, where like just run on his hands. So like it's obviously very awkward to control, but they have to draw these like two circles and dots, and I'm like, oh, I feel so bad for this person.
I was mostly trying to figure out what the fuck he was drawing. Like,
I
he's
couldn't
trying
figure
to
it out either.
I couldn't it's Will that points out that there are 5 dots around these. Basically, they draw 2 circles and they kind of cross over each other. I didn't realize that Spencer had drawn like 5 dots around it. Like, what? Who aesthetically thought that was something you're going to be able to tell in the dirt? Unless they're really big fucking dots, which they weren't.
No, they're not. Not at all.
No. And I assume it's something we're going to learn later on. I hope it's something we're going to learn later on. But when Will asks what it is, he just says, danger. I'm like, okay, maybe that's your symbol for danger, but I feel it's probably something a bit more than that.
I'm starting to wonder if there are more robots, and maybe he was just one that was sent to the Resolute to do something, and there's actually more of these things. And let's say the big alien mother queen or whatever looks like that.
Possibly. I always got the feeling that there were more robots.
Oh, I mean, I feel like there's got to be more, but I don't know if they're close by, because otherwise, where did Spencer come from?
Yeah. Well, Spencer came from his little ship, right? So
Yeah.
assuming they have like a series of little ships a bit like Spencer's. I don't know. I just got the feeling from watching the other from watching the flashbacks to the Resolute that there was definitely more than one alien there, unless he is the only alien that attacked the Resolute and then happened to crash here at the same time.
What I thought was he attacked the Resolute, and then when it went through that crazy wormhole, he got sucked with it, and his ship crashed because of that. So it was more like an accident on his part.
Possibly. The mystery continues.
We'll figure it out though, because we got 6 episodes left, counting next one. There's only 10, so we're gonna be done soon, and we're gonna have answers.
I love
hope.
this positive. There's only 6 left.
There's 6 left, and then we get to watch a 1990s movie, and then move on to something else, and that'll be our life.
Oh, I can't wait till we hit the like finale of this episode.
Oh god, it's gonna be so good.
Yeah. So yeah, we learn he does this little drawing, and then Judy comes back and is like, Will, can I have a conversation on our own over here? And then she basically starts to rag on him as she figures out that Will clearly knows
About Spencer. Yeah.
Yes, he clearly knows. She wants to go tell mum and dad. She tries to radio them, but Will's like, F that, I'm gonna like turn off communications.
Which
I was like,
I have a comment about that.
Go for it.
They all have communication devices on their arms. It's a very common thing. They're always touching them and talking with them and fucking around with them. And the mom frequently touches hers and talks through it to her children. She does it at least twice in this episode.
Yeah.
Judy, when she goes back and she's confronting Will, and he's like, oh, the robot's changed. The robot's not going to, murder us or whatever. She, instead of just going, hey, mom, from her little wrist thing, slowly walks inside the Jupiter and to the communication. Like, she's not running. She's not in a rush. She's just like, well, whatever.
And also on the flip side, she learns this information about Spencer when she's on the Watanabe ship.
Mm-hmm.
And being that her parents have left from there, I assume that that's probably closer than when her parents are versus where their Jupiter is. It's like, why would you not call from there?
It's such a mess. And then further proof that the comms work is the mom calls them later from the comm, which I actually have another minor note just about consistent, like, continuity in this show.
Yeah.
One of those things is the little communicators. Sometimes they touch their finger to it, like, to activate a channel. And then sometimes they just talk at their wrists, and that's perfectly fine. Like, pick one. Do you have to touch it to activate it? Can you just hold it? Like, what activates the comms frequency? Pick one. Just one thing. So that every time you do it, audience members can go, oh, they're using the comm function.
Yes, rather than just, I'm going to record a note for mum for later. Like, mum, get the milk for later. I mean, there's a difference to doing that. Yeah, it's like just sticking with one thing because then that establishes that that's how it works. And the audience get that little subtle nod that this is how it works. I mean, because it's, because they have to show things like physically touching their objects, even though, you don't need to in theory. It just nods to the audience that this thing is happening.
And one of the things about filmmaking that I learned in school was if you do it once, do it 3 times, because that establishes a pattern and people will immediately go, that's how that works.
Yeah.
Like
Power through.
Yeah, like man, what's a good example? Because nothing in this show is a good example.
I was about to say mum limp, no.
You know what? Kind of a long form example is the Doctor's TARDIS. It makes that noise when it lands and takes off. They've been doing it since the 50s. People know that's the Doctor's TARDIS taking in and landing off. They did it once. They did it twice more, and it became cemented in people's heads that that is the sound the TARDIS makes when it lands and when it leaves.
Yes.
It's just one of those things that if you do something 3 times, people will associate it with that is actually what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And they don't do that in this. They just do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, it's what the fuck when they want all the time. It's because plot. And, like, coming from both of us being DMs, we know that the phrase "because plot" is not actually a good reason.
It's not. And so much of this show is, like, sitcom-y plot writing, where it's just like, it's not the worst, like, as we've said before, like, I'd watch it, but it's also just bad writing.
Yeah.
Just because it's not a good plot device, like, especially in something like this.
Yeah, especially because this is, I don't know. I think especially in sci-fi things, because there's a particular group of people, there's a particular demographic that watches, people who are interested in sciencey things, people who are interested in nerdy things, and unfortunately, what comes with that is the love of the scientific method of things making sense. I mean, don't get me wrong, and this goes up on a slightly different topic. I mean, like things like Star Trek happily overlook some of those specifics, like because a principle is good in principle, even though it may not specifically work. You're happy to like walk past it, but this hasn't earned that right to do that, like at all. Yeah, just at all.
Oh my god! And another thing about it is like, just because plot works in the case of something big, like what makes the engine of the Resolute work? Well, here's a bunch of fake nonsense plot, and it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter about the story. Just because is something you use to handle something that's outside of the main plot that you don't actually need to know. It's not a good enough thing when it's like in the case of Judy contacting her parents because she knows Will has a deadly robot, instead of contacting them from the other Jupiter, or contacting them from her wrist, or just anything. And even when she uses the comms thing in the ship and it doesn't work, she doesn't turn to her fucking cell phone.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I think we need to move on from the communications.
We do.
There's so much more to, let's be honest, rag on in this episode.
Yeah. So the next thing, because Will turns off the comms panel and runs away, he's going to hide the robot somewhere. So he goes and gets a bunch of stuff in his backpack, where Dr. Smith finds him, and she talks to him about, I don't know, fucking nothing really. But when he leaves, she takes the gun from under his mattress. So now she has a gun.
Yes.
And I thought about this last time, and I didn't bring it up. What do you think that gun fires?
It must already be printed in it, right?
It's either lasers, in which case, where did they get lasers? I have seen no evidence of any human having lasers. Or it's bullets. And if the colony doesn't want weapons, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't let John bring a box of bullets. It's one of the two.
I think it's probably going to be bullets, because if it was lasers, it would be something more alien in design, because we know that Spencer printed it.
Exactly.
So I don't think it's going to be lasers. I think it's probably going to be bullets, because I think it's probably based off of the weapon that John has.
That John wanted. Yeah, but in that case, where are the fucking bullets? What is the point of having this gun if you don't have bullets?
I mean, I would assume that they were printed in the chamber. Like that was what my initial thought would be.
Now, if that 3D printer can print combustible material and make bullets, it's so much more powerful. Don't use it to make a gun.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I would love it if she goes to pull the trigger and nothing happens.
Oh, that would be so good.
So psyched if that happens, but I have the feeling that's probably not going to be the case.
No. See, this is the kind of thing where you can go, oh, just plot. You could just be like, oh, it's a laser gun and it printed a battery or something, or there's a battery pack on the ship, whatever. Just what does it use?
So like, they have this material that they print from, right? And I mean, I'm very well experienced in having dual extruder printers where they print two completely different materials. We have to do it at the moment because we need, basically like support material that you can just wash away with water. I'm assuming theirs is probably a little bit more high tech than that, but printing ballistic material is very different from printing the plastic that the weapon is made from, for example, or printing, for example, a battery. No, you can't print battery.
I would, if they told me they printed a battery, I would be like, okay, it's sci-fi, they printed a battery. Like, if the ship had just straight up expanded into a little house, I would have been like, okay, it's sci-fi. I'm on the sci-fi train, I'm just gonna ignore it, it's fine. But what the fuck does this gun use?
It's gonna be the torment, I think.
It is. It's gonna drive me insane. But, regardless of that,
She has a gun.
She has a gun now. She's got a gun that may or may not fire, but will probably fire when the moment is necessary.
Yes, yeah. It will plot at the right moment.
It will. So Will leaves. The robot comes with him. Judy finds out he left and chases him down. I do like the idea of a vegetable launcher, as Undead Man said.
Thank you.
I would enjoy that if she pulls the trigger and a carrot flies out of it.
Yeah, let's go old school A-team. It fires a cabbage. Let's do it.
So Will leaves. The robot goes. Judy finds and runs out. And then as they stand in the forest arguing about whether or not the robot is evil, Penny, poor sweet Penny, comes running up. And she's just like, hey, we're outside the perimeter fence, guys. This is great, right? We can just do whatever we want out here. She just has no idea what's happening and no one wants to tell her anything. And she's just like...
She gets blanked in the biggest way. And she's like, well, I hope someone will tell me what's going. But she's happy to go along with the adventure because they are sticking it to the man. They're like, fucking man, I'm leaving and I'm going outside. Because she's only want to be stuck inside. It's beautiful.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's so good. I'm like, my heart warmed to her in that singular moment of like, do you know what? Yeah, I can see this working.
Whatever. I don't care what's happening. I just want to go outside.
Yeah, it's good. I liked it. And then basically the conversation between Judy and Will is Judy saying, your robot's fucking evil. Dad needs to deal with it. And Will going, I thought you believed in second chances. It's not going to attack us. It's changed. And to be fair, it has just done nothing but save their lives and be the eternal space heater. I mean, for being a space heater alone, which is probably quite humiliating for shit that he can do, you've got to cut him a little bit of slack, right? But on the flip side, it is a dangerous weapon.
Okay, but also to be fair, she never saw it be a dangerous weapon. It could be a different robot. She has no idea. She's jumping to conclusions, which I'm pretty sure is speciesist. Just a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what side of this argument I want to fall on, because at the same time, it is a dangerous thing. They don't know how it works, and it is, as the father said before, a dangerous weapon in the hand of an 11-year-old. This is not a good thing. But on the flip side, it has done nothing but help the family. And you get the feeling that it clearly has done something. It's gone through something. It's clearly changed.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know what side of this argument I want to fall on, or which side I want to defend. I like playing on both right now.
We're gonna find out though whether or not the robot has actually changed.
Yeah.
But we'll find out later because
Yeah.
after they have this argument, it cuts back to the parents who have gone to visit a crashed piece of the Resolute, which, by the way, I just want to give them props on building this ship because that is a massive piece of a ship to fall through an atmosphere and survive.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean they either like 3D modeled it or they painted it onto like whatever it was. It looks awesome. I was very much reminded of I don't know if you saw the series Defiance. Like just something about it just reminded me of that just in that moment. It's amazing. It's this crashed piece of ship and you can see the internal structure of some of the bits where obviously clearly some of it's been destroyed, some of it hasn't. And it just looks freaking awesome.
oh, it looks so good.
That establishing shot of seeing this was just like, that is so freaking cool. And then they begin to wander through it. And that bit from like the kind of like, I think it's sand that it's landed in or dirt or something.
I think it's sand. I think it landed kind of in a little deserty area.
Yeah. So they wander onto the ship. And this is where we see the other cool effect. We see that kind of like weird viney shot that was on the back of Angela is on the interior sidewall of this crashed ship. Is like, it's not just been hit by a meteor, as one of them suggests. This is clearly weapons damage, and Maureen points out this kind of like burn, weird, viney mark on the inside, and I'm like, that is fucking cool.
Oh, it looks so good. Which they go to this part of the they go to this crashed piece of the ship because they keep trying to contact the Resolute with no luck. Turns out that the Resolute doesn't have, or no, they go there to find something to create something to make like their signal stronger so the Resolute can pick it up. So they like, oh, maybe there's cargo here, we can go check it out, we can maybe find a frequency synthesizer.
Because the thing that crashed just so happened to have that bit of the size and scale of the Resolute.
Plot.
Yeah, because clearly it would have it in, the chances of it having landed here in this particular piece of rubble and being intact, it's clearly going to be here.
Yeah, it's great.
So they go there and they find that, they find the box that has like the magic plot device sympathizer on it. And it's filled with whiskey. I can't tell you how happy I was in that moment that it was so filled with whiskey.
It was so good. You find out that Don West is a smuggler. Like, I don't have another term for what he is because he's literally a fucking space smuggler.
So he's a survivalist smuggler, and
really
his thing being and we find out that they're talking about Alpha Centauri and saying that Don West has been there a few times, and he's like, it's all right. People are a bit shit. And there's no whiskey.
There's no whiskey, and he hints at that whatever people think they're leaving on Earth, they actually just take with them. Which then it has a camera moment of the John and Maureen looking at each other because it's clearly saying that, we're
doing the same.
Yeah, we're doing the same. We think we're running away from something and we're just bringing it with us.
Yeah.
And they dig around, they find out there's whiskey, they yell at each other, and then Maureen climbs a stack of boxes, and finds out why the Resolute can't hear them. Turns out the big satellite dish, because apparently there's only one on a giant colony ship, has crash landed into the desert 40 feet away.
It has perfectly landed. It has landed majestically like a plate in some sands. It seems to be mostly unharmed. There's a couple of scratches on it, maybe, but there it is, landed perfectly, circular.
On its side.
On its side, unbent, perfectly there.
So you can look at it and be like, that is a satellite dish. Like,
exactly.
I'm like, do you know how... No, it's not going to work that way, but okay.
And my immediate thought also was, there wouldn't just be one, would there?
No.
Like, they would have more than that. I mean, come on.
Just one? Not even a backup satellite?
Yeah, just a little one. Just a little. Because even if they had a small backup one, they could probably try to find a way to fudge and maybe give power to this freaking one that has in fact landed. Like, just set it up, stick a bunch of Jupiters on the back of it, and just power the motherfucker up.
Exactly. And also... Undead Ben has offered another piece of advice. No backups because sci-fi. And that's true. Sci-fi, people don't plan for contingencies because otherwise it wouldn't be interesting. because
plot.
Think of every sci-fi thing. It's like, oh no, we're on a ship. What happened? The engines are down. Do you not have a backup generator? No. Why?
Conserving fuel and energy and stuff.
Yeah,
Because I think the idea is supposed to be that the 3D printers are supposed to be able to print all the shit that they need.
I guess.
Theory, because they can print ballistics.
They can print everything. They can print bombs, ballistics, fuck it, you name it, it will print.
Yeah,
Oh,
you can print everything out of these goddamn. So I don't know. It was something about just seeing that dish just made me laugh, and then go, they would have more than
they would have
they'd have
so.
something other than a singular dish, right? Because they got hit
Yes.
by a meteor, they'd be effed.
Oh,
I mean,
it'd be so bad.
yeah, I mean, like there are a couple of very major problems with traveling space. One being radiation, one being like bone density issues, and the other one being micro meteors. It's just the fact. Basically, we need fucking shields, and I don't think they're traveling with shields.
They're not. Their shield is the fact that they're on the inside of the Resolute versus
Yeah,
on the outside.
that's it. Like micro meteors, like traveling at speed, will just destroy a ship.
Oh,
I mean,
100%.
there's so much planning that NASA has to do to make sure they don't hit any of these tiny little fucking rocks. Like having just like a single dish be a thing, it's like that. I mean, come on. I mean, they got to have something else there.
It's bad. And then after you find out the dish is landed perfectly in the sand, like a majestic Planet of the Apes crashed Statue of Liberty, we cut back to the children who have been walking through the woods for so long. So long. And they hear other people. And they hide because what if they saw Spencer? So we'll hide. And I'm sorry, my first thought of seeing people leading other people through the woods was, these people are cannibals. Which was an insane thought because they only crashed like, what, 3 days ago?
They can't be that fucking hungry.
They're like, you know what? Nope, we're going to survive, eat these people.
I definitely had like a culty vibe to
It
it.
felt really creepy. Like, they
Yeah.
just felt creepy.
And this is where we meet. Oh my god, I don't know. It's fine. Basically, the guy they didn't vote for.
I think
we meet this guy they didn't vote for. He's like a colony leader back on. He's going to be their colony leader back on Alpha Centauri.
I think his name was Victor. I think it was a
Possibly.
V. It doesn't matter.
I don't know. I don't honestly remember. We'll probably learn his name again where people continue to say they didn't vote for him. They voted for the other guy, which was just a running theme in this. And he's leading these survivors through it, and the children hide. And then once they disappeared, the children come back out and they find an envelope on the ground. And this is where one of the younger survivors runs back. And then we have it's not quite in this moment. It's just when the kids are looking at the children watching these other group walk away. We have that moment of, oh, that's that weird cult leader's son, and Penny are about the same age. And then there's like a Penny like slow motion music-y cue. Huh. Oh yeah, these two are gonna bone. Ugh.
And also when they find this envelope and he comes running back, Penny awkwardly flirts with him.
Yeah.
Like, it's the most. She's okay. If Judy's 18, Penny's got to be 16, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't tell ages.
That's nice.
And she acts like she's a 5-year-old on the playground at recess who doesn't know how to express her feelings.
It's like she's on a bit of a power trip and she's loving it. And it's
great.
It's making her all the happy things with her, and she's on this power trip. And basically, this kid sees, I say kid, he's probably about the same age as Penny, so let's go 15 or 16. And he sees Brentstone, he's like, that's the thing that, and they're like, no, don't you tell anyone, and we will do something to your envelope. And then the kid runs off, and we're like, this is gonna come back and bite him in the ass.
Which is my second point about continuity. Penny is holding this envelope in her hand, and it's behind her back. There's a shot of them turning to leave, and the envelope is gone. And it cuts back to look at something, and then it cuts back to her again, and it's in her hand again as she's waving it around in the air. Like, if it was a wider shot, I could forgive it missing from her hand, but she's the focus of the shot.
Yeah.
Like, it's just her, so it's not like... And it's not like something small like, oh, she forgot to take her watch off, and it's hiding in her sleeve. She's holding an envelope. It's like the crutch of the whole scene. Like, she's got to have this envelope, and then she doesn't have it, and then she does have it. Just,
I feel we're at the point now. I'm gonna say we both don't like this so much that we are now finding everything to rag on.
I mean,
like,
honestly, if I were enjoying this episode more, I probably wouldn't have noticed that. But this episode felt kind of like a slog. Oh. Yeah. When they were walking earlier and they get chased by the dinosaur thing, another moment of that these people are not paying attention is they get to this, they're running away, and they get to a ravine, and they're like, oh, and then Judy's like, where did Spencer go? And then you hear a tree falling over because Spencer's pushing it over. He's literally 3 feet to their left, like parallel to them behind a tree. How do you can't not
How'd you
see
miss
him.
that?
Yeah, he's right there. He's a 8-foot tall blue person.
Yeah. Oh, so in this scene when he pushes over this giant tree, which they didn't notice the ground ripping up around it. He knocks this tree over and they begin to walk across, and we see dinosaur creature hidden by the bushes because money. And we see Spencer's lights go red, which we only saw at the very beginning when we first met him, and obviously when he was evil. And he makes like this big scary noise back at the creature, and the creature turns and runs and turns tail. And then we see him turn back into like normal Spencer. And it's like, that was cool to see, because then that still reiterates that, yes, he has been helping them, but he is so capable of so much more.
Exactly. And then he does the will thing where he throws his arms up in the air.
Yeah.
Like
which is
mimicry.
A kind of cute-ish moment.
Yeah, it's kind of cute. So jumping back ahead. So the kids make it to this cave, which is where Will wants to leave Spencer.
Mm-hmm.
Because that way, Judy can't tell his parents, and they can't, or if she does, they can't find him.
That was his initial plan.
That
and
was
then
his
Judy
initial
came
plan.
with.
Yes. When they're there, the reason why it's called the Robinsons Were Here is because when they're in this cave, Penny finds some red mud and writes the Robinsons Were Here on the wall, and then they get into an argument about cave paintings, and Judy says my favorite line, which is, it's vandalism, but it can't be vandalism because nobody owns that cave.
Yeah.
You can't vandalize like something that's not anyone's property. It's like literally part of the whole thing. At worst, you're just being kind of a dick.
Yeah. Kind of a dick is probably what I'd get out of that. But then obviously Penny has the interesting thing back of like, cave paintings, nobody knows why they did them. People just want a sign to say that they were here, that they've made a difference, that they are recognized by the universe.
Exactly.
And all three of the children do the stick our hands in this dirt and we stick our hands on the wall to show that the three Robinson kids were here, which is a kind of nice little family bonding moment. I was actually genuinely like that. There were quite a few, especially sister bonding moments in this episode.
Yeah, there were.
One of them, and it was nice to see the kids interacting just as the three of them, and obviously Spencer.
Yeah, who's just there hanging around in the background.
Also, an important thing to note with the children coming back this way is that we see shots of Dr. Smith having followed them.
Mm-hmm.
It happens a lot. We just see random shots of her having followed them, and she sometimes says something creepy, sometimes she just looks creepy. She does this throughout the episode, basically.
My favorite line that she says is, "What strong hands you have," which was just like,
oh my god, awkward.
Who wrote that line and thought that was okay?
And she looked awkward saying it. like the actress, whoever she is, bless her, gave it her best shot, but she was still like, I'm not convinced, boys.
This is, you sure you want me to say, what strong hand? Okay, well.
All right, I'm getting paid.
You're paying me. I'll do whatever you want.
It was just awkward throughout. All right, let's finish up the thing with the kids because they're there. They get a message while they're in this cave from their parents saying they're not going to be back because things haven't gone quite the way they planned, and they'll be back first thing in the morning.
Yep.
And then Will's like, I don't really want to leave my robot. I mean, Spencer's here all on his own, and they basically agree that they're all going to stay in the cave overnight, which is kind of cool.
It's very nice.
It's a nice little moment. They don't have a fire, but they do have a space heater, so what are they worried about? So they hang out in this cave. And then there's an interesting bit a bit later on, I think during the middle of the night when the kids are sleeping. But Judy sees this. She's awake enough to see Spencer do this. Spencer puts his hand in the dirt and adds his handprint next to the children's, which I was like, oh, I don't know if he's just mimicking them or if because he feels like he's one of them.
That is a good question. And obviously that's going to be something that they get further into in the show of whether or not the robot feels like they belong or it feels like they want to belong and just don't know how.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to get to know more about Spencer. I like Spencer. Spencer's interesting.
Yeah,
it is interesting. But Judy, having seen this, and I think during the course of taking the robot back to the cave and then having to leave it, Judy comes to a slightly different feeling about Spencer than she did when she first left. Mm-hmm. literally a journey of it's evil to it's questionable.
It's all right, I guess.
It's okay. So the kids do, do the hanging out and chatting and talking, and then they do the shit, we have to get home before mum and dad realize we're missing moment,
Oh,
and they make their way back to the ship, and it's just the funniest thing.
it's beautiful. There that is a great scene, but I like the intercut with the kids deciding they're going to stay at the cave, are the parents getting drunk sitting at the base of this
Oh my God.
satellite, and they're having a good time. But now I want to comment on this. My favorite thing is they're talking about how they got lost in Tuscany because the dad didn't bring the compass, and he's like, "Oh, it was our honeymoon. I was trying to impress you," and she says, "Oh, you impressed me in other ways." And then she looks at his hand, but it literally looks like she looks at his crotch. And I was like, you guys should have just reset that whole scene.
Your brain clearly lives in the gutter. I didn't pick that up. I mean, to be fair, I
Listen.
was watching when I was about to try and do something else. Your mind lives in the gutter, my friend.
Listen, no, it's not a good shot because she's like, you impressed me in other ways. And like, no, you reset that shot. You make her like grab his hand because it's sitting on the bottle of whiskey or a million other things. Like,
Yeah.
just don't look down at his groin.
That scene for me was like that whole scenario was just weird for me because they have this nice little interaction between the two of them where she's basically admitting she doesn't know what to do next, and he has faith that she will, that she'll
Yeah.
figure something out. And they have this nice little, like, we're getting drunk, we're reminiscing about our honeymoon, and then she turns into bitch mode and goes, where are you going to live when we get to Alpha Centauri?
She shuts down so quickly. Like,
Yeah, it's like,
it's like, okay. But then they get into an argument because she shuts him out, and he's like, what are you talking, like, what did I do? And she's like, I found the letter. And he's like, what letter are you talking about? She gets up to leave. He gets up to chase her, and then the satellite falls over. And
yeah, there's like a localized
tiny earthquake that apparently...
tiny earthquake, which Don West doesn't notice.
I was going to say that. He never comments on it. He never experienced it. Just a tiny little earthquake knocks this thing over.
And he clearly doesn't notice it falling over either.
No.
It's like, this is the world's best soundproofing sand.
Once again, very unobservant people in this show.
Yeah.
But
So they get trapped under the under the plate, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And they turn on the lights and they continue the awkward conversation.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
One last jump back. The thing that I know we both wanted to comment on was when they're sitting there at the base of the satellite talking and drinking. The sun officially sets, and these huge purple clouds appear, just like glowing purple clouds. And
It's beautiful.
it's so gorgeous. It looks so nice. And then you see them from the kids' point of view, and they're like these giant floating jellyfish, like swirling around each other, and all of them.
One of those really nice, like, world building moments of this is definitely an alien world, and I can't tell you how freaking gorgeous it is. If you want to, like, hand on heart, I am having some very grave thoughts about this series, but that if you want to see something fucking gorgeous, watch this episode for that.
It's
If
so
nothing
good.
else. Yeah. And everyone sees it, and everyone has that nice uplifting moment. Even Smith sees it, and they give her that kind of like holy crap moment.
Yeah, which was really cool. And then, so the next day they get out from under the satellite because Don West cuts them out or blows a hole in it. I don't remember which.
Before we get too far with that, we find out what is in the letter, and the letter is saying that he has volunteered to do another tour or something, and then we hit that age old thing of soldiers and families of I want to go do this, and the family basically going, I don't want you to go, you're leaving us. It's that struggle.
I'd like the fact that he's like, she says that and he sits there and he's quiet for a second and he says, because the actors in this all do a very good job of portraying all of these like things, despite the fact that the script is sometimes not great. Yeah. But he sits there and he's like, not all of us are blessed enough to only feel responsible for our little piece of the world.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's a good line. Like, okay, he feels that the right thing to do is to go and do another tour. And she says something, I don't remember her exact thing, and he says, you could have asked me to stay.
Yeah.
Basically being like, not like blaming, basically be like, we're both at fault here. Like, I volunteered to go, but you also didn't you didn't say,
Yeah.
hey, stay here with us.
Yeah, she clearly knows, so she could have gone, stay. I don't
Yes.
want you to go. But she let him go, and he basically says, you let me go. There's clearly something else going on here.
Exactly.
That's not the only thing.
Yeah, and it was a good scene right there, but like a lot of the stuff previously that led up to them being trapped was kind of like, okay, you just want to force them to have this interaction.
Yeah.
So,
It's like, we're going to lock him in the room so you can deal with your issues. Like,
yeah.
okay, cool. And the idea that it gets stuck under the plot issue of a giant plate. Okay, it kind of makes it a bit cooler, but at the same time, it's like,
Yeah.
it could have waited.
Oh, it could have. It could have waited for another dozen things. It didn't have to happen in this episode.
No,
But
I feel like this episode could have happened a bit later on, or at least that little like B plot could have happened much later on. So yeah, Don blows them out with a shape charge or something like that.
And they get out, and then it's intercut with the kids going back the way they came. Which also, when they leave the cave, it cuts to Smith sitting in another really weird position, watching them. Like
with the villainous hood up.
Yeah, it's so weird. But it cuts between the kids going back along the path with how they got to the cave, and the parents just driving.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get to the Jupiter, and it shows them unload, and they say goodbye to John so he can go back to the Watanabes. And they go in there like, hello? Is anyone here? What's going on? And the kids do that classic child thing of like, oh no, we were here the whole time. Because
like Will has his headphones on. Penny comes in looking like she's just had a shower, and
Judy comes in like she came in from the garage where she was running.
Yeah.
It was such a classic like parents versus kids moment of just like, no, we were here the whole time. You missed us.
my favorite bit about this end scene where they all meet up and they have a conversation. They're like, and the dad goes, "Where's Spencer?" Because Spencer's clearly not there, and all the kids together basically lie and say that he wandered off, but it would be irresponsible if they chased him.
Yes.
And it was a nice moment because we see Judy basically side with her little brother of going, okay, I've hit that maybe moment with Spencer. Let's keep him hidden so that other people don't find out about him yet. And that actually is something also that the parents decide not to bring up when they come across the other survivors. Like, let's not do it now. Let's figure out what we can about him before we throw him to the wolves, if that is the case.
Exactly.
So yeah, we see Judy begin to side with that, and when the parents go off to do whatever it is that they want to do, Judy's like, "You are gonna tell Dad tomorrow, aren't you?" And Will's like, sure.
Just like, yeah.
Like, he's clearly not. The next episode is clearly him avoiding telling his parents.
Yes.
At least that's how I feel anyway.
Oh no, that's definitely gonna
completely
happen.
wrong.
I also like the fact, my favorite scene was when they're walking through, they look at the little kitchen table, they look somewhere else, and Will sneaks in from the side, sits down, throws his feet up, and is just like watching like something on his like iPad, just like, yep, I was here the whole time and you just missed me. Like, it's so conspicuous and awkward.
It was awesome.
It was good.
But what I liked in that end bit was that they never ever ask where Dr. Smith is.
No, they never do. But then we cut back to Dr. Smith. And where is Dr. Smith? She's at the cave still, right?
Yeah.
Because she goes in to talk to Spencer. And by the way, she comes in with the weirdest thing. She's like, I thought you and I could have a little chat. And I'm like, the robot doesn't talk. We all know that. You could just be like, oh, I wanted to... You could have written a better line. It feels awkward. Like, let's talk to the robot.
Yeah.
The robot doesn't say anything.
It's talking at Spencer. It's not talking with Spencer.
Not saying Spencer can't communicate. Not to say his lights don't communicate stuff. But they don't understand it. So it's not a conversation. It's just you saying something to Spencer and hoping he understands.
Yeah. So at this point, we get Dr. Smith doing a weird kind of creepy... odd kind of like basically nobody understands you but me. Humans are scum except me. When Will turns on you, because humans are scum, I'll be there for you. Think about your options. Wink wink, nudge nudge. And then she leaves.
She does the best thing, because she comes in, she starts talking, and then she pulls a gun on the robot.
Oh my god, yeah.
And she starts to like try to bribe him. It felt like she was gonna be like, if you don't do this, I'll shoot Will. Like, it's just so weird, because the second she does anything to actually have leverage, the robot's gonna like crush her skull.
Yeah, it's a really odd. I got a very odd feel from it. Like, yeah, like initially you get the kind of like, is she threatening the robot? Or maybe not. Is she trying to bribe the robot? Oh, maybe not. Is she trying to make it work with her? I don't know. Is she trying to make it
It's
have friends? Is she trying to make it an enemy but a reluctant ally? It was so
it's
oddly
so awkward.
constructed. It jumped from A to B so quickly. I'm like, I don't know what she's trying to do here. I
Mhm.
know she's a psychopath. I know she's a manipulative son of a bitch. But at the same time, I don't know what the point of what she was trying to do was, apart from what she summed up in a single line of like, when wheel turns on you, I'm your option, baby. She could have just said that and then pissed off.
Right.
The rest of it was just window shopping, dressing
It
weirdness.
was, and my favorite thing about this whole thing is, so Dr. Smith is supposed to be a manipulative person. Like they can read a person and be like, I know what to say at the right moment, blah blah blah, to like push them into what they want.
Yeah.
They then give Dr. Smith the power to do that to an alien artificial intelligence that has zero like it doesn't
Normal tells.
yeah, it has no tells.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is she a fucking supervillain? Like she's just like, I can read all electromagnetic pulses near me. I know what you're thinking. Like, what the fuck is this?
I think, I mean, because if it's communicating with the lights, there is a theory of communication that everything kind of communicates in a very similar way.
Okay, that's
Like,
fair.
like if you are, like, if you're trying to be open and honest, you will literally body language be open and honest. Like you will open yourself up to being vulnerable, because covering your vulnerable spots is like defensive, and that's going to be the same as a universal thing. It's like there's a whole theory of universal communication, and it's based on some of those very like mandatory tells. I think even robots would be doing the similar thing, because if they are, for example, they have, I don't know, a convenient kill switch on the bottom of their back.
But see, that's also getting to the idea that these robots are going to have the same wants and needs as a human, because that theory of communication is based entirely on the study of humans.
Yeah,
Who made Spencer? Maybe they don't act like that.
maybe not, but the idea of protecting your weak spot is probably pretty universal for anything that lives.
Fair, but what's Spencer's weak spot? Because we've only seen him
His
get,
face.
but we've only seen him get hurt once, and not even get hurt. He was in two pieces when Will
Got
found
bisected.
him, and he just put himself back together.
Yeah.
What's his weak point?
He's useless without his head.
I guess
I found his weak spot. He's useless without his head.
just
Yeah,
take that away.
yeah. I mean, just like break the snow globe and then everything's toasted. I don't know. I mean, there are some like universal like communication things. It's a whole theory. I will probably look into it actually, because it's been a while since I read up on it. But I mean, I can only think that that's maybe what's going on here. Especially if he's beginning to emulate the humans around him, especially Will.
Yeah.
Probably be some things that he's picking up. I'm not really sure. I'm hoping that's the reason, because otherwise she's just like, the GM NPC. You can do everything that they
Exactly.
want to.
And also, further, like she comments on the fact that the robot Spencer put his handprint on the wall,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Oh, you want to belong," but that may not be the case. The robot may have literally had like, let's say, memory damage, and is just emulating the things around him, and has no
Yeah.
idea what he did or why he did it. He's just like, "Well, they did it."
Yeah. I mean, the robot could literally just be emulating everything around them. They're not learning, they're not absorbing, they're just mimicking.
Yeah, like we don't know.
Exactly. We know nothing about this. And I like that mystery, but the fact that she seems to be, I mean, this, I don't know, just everything that was written for her was just, it was just awkward and weird, and didn't seem on point, and seemed like the actions. I mean, we know she's a desperate person, but she can't be that desperate. She followed them. She had this planned out. She can't be that desperate in this moment. Just everything about that just seemed very off and very weird. I mean, you got the idea that she's trying to manipulate it, but other than that, oh, it's just such a awkward scene.
It was super weird.
And I think that was the end, right?
That was the end, and that's also the end of this whole thing, because we are at an hour.
We are well over an hour, and we still haven't done the wrapping up thoughts yet.
Which we're gonna do
we
that.
have ragged on this episode so much.
We did.
We have.
We did. Okay, so wrapping up thoughts. How would you rate this episode and the series as a whole with this episode?
I would rate this episode a solid like 1.5 out of 5. I hated this episode. There were so many things about it. I give it the 1.5 stars because of the world. Other than that, everything, a lot of it was awkwardly written. A lot of it was like plot devices because we have to. There's like the whole tropes of like they get stuck in an elevator, meet cute thing going on. I just hated that. I mean, I was happy the chicken returned. I was happy that Donna turned up because he's some sort of bizarre comic relief, and I
Oh
kind
yeah,
of love the dude. I love him so much. But the rest of it was just awful, and they haven't earned, in my opinion, that quite that right yet, because it's only episode 4 to do the campfire episode. I just can't get over it.
no,
But apart from like the beauty of the world and the establishing, especially that shot in the night with the purple jellyfish things, that was just incredible.
it
I
was.
loved it. But other than that, this episode can go to hell. The series as a whole, I would struggle to continue binge watching this. I am glad we're doing this as a week by week because I can't. I think at this point I probably would be turning off. I can't deal with it. I'd probably one of those things that I would come back and watch again so I can give it another shot, which we
Yeah.
have to because we're watching next week. But this is where I stand on it. The series wise, it's just drastically dropped because of this episode. I'm
Yeah.
looking at a solid like 2.5 stars. I
Yeah.
can't even just at the moment.
Yeah, it's gotten a little rough.
Yeah.
For me, I would say 1.5, 1 to 1.5 for this episode. This episode, I was 15 minutes in, and I had to
Clock watching.
Yeah, I was just like,
Yeah.
oh my god, why? Why is it so long? Nothing's happening. This is the worst. As a whole, I'd say the series kind of dropped to like a 2.5 for me. Like this episode, I don't feel like they went through enough decent problems because all their problems were we got stuck in the ice, we got stuck in a storm, we got stuck in the ice, we're out of the ice. How about we have a nice little episode now? No, show me some more problem. Like, give me a bigger problem of being like, oh, we can't contact the Resolute. We can't, we're running out of food. Like something, and then be like, now here's a little moment.
There was no problem solving in this for sure. I mean, we don't always need a like a doomsday timer going on this, but the idea of like we're going to run out of food in 6 months, it's a decently long timer that you don't feel the pressure, but it's not one that it's like, oh crap, we have no fertilizer. Where the fuck are we going to get this from? And then devising a way and exploring and getting in a little bit of trouble and then coming back and dealing with that. I mean, that's a really hey, I've written episode 5. Let's do that.
And I really
there's none of that in this.
Yeah, and I like I like character building. Character building is like super important for a drama, and that's what this is. But put the character building around things that are actually entertaining to watch, because all we got was an hour-long plot device.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't an hour long of rising and falling action. It was literally an hour of like just plot filler.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like these two storylines could have been put in another episode as separate storylines. Like, let's say next week their doomsday timer is they're running out of food, right? The B plot of that could be the kids hiding the robot.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a half decent B side. Like, do you know what? This is good. Like, or the week after, it's like the parents dealing with their shit. I mean,
have the parents go off to the Watanabes and have them go off to the crash piece of the Resolute, but have the kids doing something that's like driving, because walking a robot through the woods is not driving. That's oh my god,
stalling
so much.
It's basically like two B-sides got stuck together in this one, and it was just
it really is. It was kind of rough writing, and I agree. Like, honestly, if I was watching and binging, I'd be like, and I need a break.
And I'm gonna turn this off. I'd
come back to it, but I would definitely need to stop for a little while, because
I hope it gets better. I hope.
I agree.
I mean, at the moment, because of this episode, the fact the last episode was also a little bit kind of and the episode before that was also a bit kind of like it's okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm out. I hate it. I'm really hating it.
I want to see. I want the opening credits to return at like episode 7 or something. Just be like,
just randomly,
and then just never come back again. Like, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah.
All right. Well, now you all know that we really did not like episode 4 of Lost in Space, pretty much at all. Like,
just at all.
It's a slug. If you're watching this, you could probably skip it and just
no. You have to go watch the purple. You have to go watch like the purple jellyfish, because that was actually fucking incredible.
That's fair.
Watching the pink flowers spawn, fucking awesome. I love those two things.
Fair.
And watching the pebble creatures
was
also
really cool. Okay, fine. Watch this episode, but also have like a Kindle or something to just like fill time between the cool stuff, because there's a lot of nothing.
Yeah, there's a lot of B-side in this, which is just not interesting because they
Yeah.
haven't earned the right to do just a B-side episode.
No.
They need to have something in here at the moment. At least something sci-fi would be cool. I mean, the world was sci-fi,
Anything.
but the rest of it, I can definitely never watch this one again.
Yeah, I agree. So let's do our sign off. As always,
Yep.
you go first.
Hey, I'm Belinda. Laters.
And I'm Drew Tillman. You know where to find us, but I'm also let's throw it in the chat there. You know all the commands, Belinda. Go do a thing that I don't know how to do at the moment.
It's yeah. You carry on. You deal with the outro. I'll deal with the things.
All right. So once again, I'm Drew Tillman, and I'm from all sorts of podcasts and whatnots. You all know where to find me. And look, there's some more stuff where you can find us.
This is the part of the episode we cut from the podcast, right?
Yeah, no, this will not make it in the podcast. I'm sorry that all the listeners have to listen to me ramble.
Yeah.
But we'll be back next Friday with episode 5. I don't have anything to... actually, I do have something to plug for all the people watching on Twitch. Starting next Wednesday, the 20th, I will be streaming a live play of Raft with Tom from Nerds on a Roll. And we're going to try to survive in a sea with a shark that's trying to eat us on a raft that we have to build as we're floating on it.
That's awesome.
It is a wonderful little game. Like, I turned it on only long enough to learn the controls so I wouldn't look like a total idiot while playing it in front of everybody. But it's a very interesting game. It's in early release. Come watch it. I will put out an actual time. I think it's 8 o'clock, but don't quote me on that one yet.
Cool. We won't.
Yeah, don't. I'll send out a time on the Discord.
I don't think I have anything to plug this week except obviously TLD Monday.
There you go.
We would be doing Rick and Rion tomorrow, but we are down one of our important crew membery people, so we are actually, funny enough, recording TLD instead.
Next Friday, as after this whole thing, if you're a patron of Taking Initiative, you will also get an invite to come watch the next recording of Meanwhile in Barovia. If you're a patron and you watched it, you're going to see some more of that.
Oh, yeah. I have a date. I will be hooking up with that.
You do. Oh no, I've been quoted in the chat. Oh no.
I think I can add that to quotes, but
don't add that to quotes. I'm still trying to find out when Tom is free to do this.
Fair enough.
Anyway, that's I think all the plugs that we have.
I think so. I don't think there's anything else Sparky that related or anything other shows that I'm on that I can plug yet.
Yeah, same.
I
don't have anything else I can plug officially yet.
Yeah.
So that's it. Thank you all for watching us just really rip into this episode. And as
it sounds like we don't like this, but I don't think we do.
I don't think that we like this episode. I enjoyed the stream. I enjoyed doing this.
Oh, this is fun. Yeah.
I didn't enjoy that episode much at all. No. But thanks for joining us. We'll be back next Friday. This will go up on YouTube as soon as I get it cleaned up. And the podcast will come out next Friday. The podcast of this episode will come out next Friday.
Yes. I believe this last week's episode should be out tomorrow morning because, again, Grim has let me down and putting it out today. So I'll kick him in the nuts and he'll do it again.
Well, there you go. Grim will get yelled at and then put out the episode.
Yep.
I hope you all, if you didn't watch last week, enjoy that. We'll see you next Friday. Thank you again. Yep. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.